Do you hate the thought of working past 55 or 60? Do you hate not being able to live the life you deserve today? Do you hate not knowing what your financial future looks like? It's time to stop doing what you hate. Here's your host, Mr. Harold Green.
Aloha, everybody. This is Harold Green, and it is time to stop doing what you hate. How's everybody doing today? I am doing pretty good. It's a Saturday morning here for me. I usually like to come in early and record my shows on a Saturday morning because it's kind of like my Friday. And it gives me a chance to think about the show throughout the week and what it is that I want to share with my listeners. So if you're tuning in for the first time, welcome to the show. If you have been tuning in consistently, I want to thank you for doing that. We've covered a lot of ground and a lot of different topics, and there's a ton more on the way. I want to talk to you guys about something very, very serious today. It's about telling the truth. That's not the title of the show. The title of the show is The Power of Words. And I believe telling the truth or telling lies, those are words that come out of our mouth. And they can either have a positive effect on everything that we do, or they can have a negative effect on everything that we do. But honestly, I hate being lied to. I hate being misled. I hate not being told the truth. I hate being misinformed for whatever different reasons. And some people are not telling the truth because they have some sort of monetary interest in you believing misinformation. And I think that's a horrible thing. I think that's why so many people in our country today don't really want to be financially, because they've been misled. They've been told a lot of different things for a lot of different reasons. And I think it's time for us to pull the sheet off of the things that are going on and really just start telling the truth and finding out what's real and what's fake. And so today in this show, The Power of Words, I'm going to get into a lot of different things, but I need to lay a foundation for where I'm going to go and why I think the way I do and the type of results that I've received because of that. But it's going to have to come from a biblical perspective. And all throughout the Bible, you hear and you see things being said, miraculous things happening, just based on people's words. And I think the power of words, you can just see it all throughout. And this morning, as I got up, I was asking God, I said, hey, I needed to do the show today, but how do I deliver this show? Where do I go? And how do I share what I need to share in a way that it's going to be impactful and that it's going to be powerful enough to change people's lives? And basically, I opened up Proverbs this morning and started reading Proverbs 13. And the first thing that jumped out was about words. And so I'm going to get into it, but I'm going to jump around a little bit. And, if you do have a Bible, you can go with me to Acts chapter 3. And I'm just going to read a quick little story here about something that happened because of the power of somebody's words. And I'm not going to be too long with this, but Acts chapter 3, it says, now Peter and John were going up to the temple at the hour of prayer, the 9th hour, 3:00 in the afternoon, when a certain man, crippled from his birth, and I'm reading from the Amplified Version, Amplified Classic, says, verse 2, when a certain man crippled from his birth was being carried along, who was laid each day at the gate of the temple, which is called Beautiful, so that he might beg for charitable gifts from those who entered the temple. So when he saw Peter and John about to go into the temple, he asked them to give him a gift. And Peter directed his gaze intently at him, and I can just kind of imagine how strong that look was. And so did John, and said, look at us. And the man paid attention to them, expecting that he was going to get something from them. But Peter said, silver and gold, money I do not have, but what I do have, that I give to you. In the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, walk. Then he took hold of the man's right hand with a firm grip and raised him up. And at once his feet and ankle bones became strong and steady. And leaping forth, he stood and began to walk. And he went into the temple with them, walking, leaping, and praising God. And when all the people saw him walking about and praising God, and they recognized him as the man who usually sat begging for alms or gifts at the beautiful gate of the temple, and they were filled with wonder and amazement, bewilderment, consternation over what had occurred to him. And to me, that's very powerful, because the man that was at the gate, I think, is representative of a lot of us sometimes in our life where, we find ourselves in situations, and we simply don't know how to get out. And a lot of people do seek me out to help them with their finances. And my objective is to help them rise and walk and to soar financially. And so we're partners in this together. And I think we must use every possible tool at our disposal. So getting into the power of words, we can say rise and walk, rise and soar, whatever it might be, wherever you are. I want you to rise from where you are to where you want to be. So we're going to talk about the power of words, but I'm going to mix this up with goal setting and things of that nature. So I believe that there are universal truths out there that we can all benefit from. And I think Proverbs is a very good book that goes into universal truths and, or universal laws. And some people say, well, this may or may not apply to me. And I said, yeah, true. It's kind of like stopping at a stop sign. I'll stop at the stop sign because I know if I don't stop at the stop sign, I go through that stop sign, I could either kill myself or kill someone else. And it's the same thing with universal laws. We can't really say those don't apply to us, because if we're human beings living on this earth, all universal laws apply to us, like physics and gravity. You jump off a building, you can't say, well, gravity does not apply to me. That would be foolish, right? You're going to hit the ground hard and something bad is going to happen. There are also universal laws when it comes to finance. There's also universal laws when it comes to marriage, universal laws when it comes to a lot of different things in life, or we can call them universal truths. So this morning, what hit me was when I was reading in Proverbs, when I wanted to get this message out to you guys, Proverbs 13, it says, a good man eats good from the fruit of his mouth, but the desire of the treacherous is for violence. He who guards his mouth keeps his life, but he who opens wide his lips comes to ruin. And it's kind of like people look at their marriage and anything else that goes on in their life. I think that everything that you have in life is a consequence of the words that we use. And I learned this in Proverbs a long time ago, Proverbs 18:21, but it will start with number 4, Proverbs 18:4. The words of a discreet and wise man's mouth are like deep waters, plenteous and difficult to fathom. And the fountain of skillful and godly wisdom is like a gushing stream, sparkling, fresh, pure, and life-giving. 6 says, a self-confident fool's lips brings contention, and his mouth invites a beating. Again, using wrong words. 7 says, a self-confident fool's mouth is his ruin, and his lips are a snare to himself. Verse 8, the words of a whisperer or talebearer are as dainty morsels. They go down into the innermost parts of the body. This is talking about gossip. And then on down in 18, and I think this is the last one for the day before I get into what I want to talk about. A man's moral self shall be filled with the fruit of his mouth, and with the consequences of his words he must be satisfied, whether good or evil. And it says, death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they who indulge in it shall eat the fruit of it, for death or life. The other day, something happened to me, and I was pretty upset about it. And I wanted to say a lot of different things. And I remember hearing this message one day about the power of your words, and how if you're having a very lousy day, the best thing to do is shut up until you can say something positive. And that day, that kind of saved my life in a lot of different things, because sometimes we can get very emotional about things that happen to us. And then when we just start saying whatever it is that we want to say. So let's get into the power of words, as it pertains to goal setting. And we have a lot of different things that we want to accomplish in life for the most of us. And some people say goals are useless and all of that jazz. And my response is you have, to me, goals are like targets. They're like archery. When you put the bullseye out there, if you don't have a target, you can shoot anywhere. And when you start shooting anywhere, that's disastrous. And so I want to go into a couple of different things in regards to goal setting. And I have a book that I've used for the last 20 something years, and it's like a workbook that I got at a seminar. And then it's titled Get It Done Now. And inside the book, what it does is it goes through setting your short range goals, setting your long range goals, and then creating steps along the way, benchmarks highway markers or whatever that lets you know whether or not you're on track. And at that time, I wasn't doing too well in life. My wife and I, we started out having kids very young. I was 20 years old when we got married. My first kid came out when I was 21. And so we had a very tough time financially because we just didn't go through the normal route of getting married, having a family. We went the unconventional route. We got married in Japan. We left Japan, came to Hawaii, was in the military. I was an air traffic controller. And so I decided to get out of the military because I didn't want to have to go back to another ship. So you have sea duty, shore duty rotation. We had just had our first kid, and I didn't want to have to go back to a ship where my wife would be left to raise a newborn all by herself, and I would be in and out and all over, doing different things all over the world, and not being able to see my family. Back then, there was no Wi-Fi, there was no email or video chat like some of these guys do, and like you don't miss a beat. So we had to write letters and wait for packages and all different types of things like that. And it just made it unbearable. So I told my wife, I said, I'm going to get out and we're going to stay here in Hawaii. So again, I wasn't doing too well back then at the time, and found myself into some situations that were hard and tough. And along the way, I did find a relationship with the Lord, which, I will share with you guys. Is not to beat you over the head, but it's just kind of like my history and where I came from and how did I get to where I am today. Again, a lot of people take a lot of different routes to get there, but mine, again, was very unconventional. So I found myself in a 2-day seminar with this guy, success coach, and that's what he was. He wasn't called that back then. It was called motivational speaking. So going through this little exercise, or it's a two-day seminar, but going through it, he just kind of outlined a lot of different things in regards to what could be holding you back. And it went into setting goals and then also the power of the tongue. So I said, well, how do I do this? So I began setting goals. The first goal I set was to get a job making X number of dollars per year with the weekends off. And so I began to say positive affirmations towards that goal. I have a job making X number of dollars with the weekends off. And at the time I was in sales and there wasn't no weekends off. It was sales and commissions, and it was not a stable income job. And so we went through a lot of things, but I kept saying what I wanted, what my goal was. And here's what began to happen. As I began to say those things, it began to program my mind to see different opportunities out there that were available to me. And I had to take a leap of faith and begin to act on those opportunities. And so as I began to do that, I went to some interviews, and finally I landed the job that fit my goal. It was a job in the home office of a life insurance company, and it was in client relations, client retention. I had the weekends off. I was making the kind of money that I wanted to make, but that wasn't the ultimate goal. And that was just a stepping stone on the way to something greater. So I had to begin to set greater goals in regards to the things that I wanted to accomplish. So at the time, we didn't own a home, we were renting, and I wanted to own a nice house or a nice home here in Hawaii. So I began to confess or say positive affirmations towards owning a nice home in Hawaii. And so as I began to do that, I began to program my mind. Opportunities came open. My wife and I, we went. And we looked at the place, brand new, nice, one of the nicest places here in Hawaii, brand new. And we put down a deposit. But what I began to realize was the income that I was making was not enough to sustain that type of life, save for retirement. So I began confessing something different about owning my own business before turning age 30. So I began to confess those things. And again, my brain began to help me to reprogram itself for me to learn different things and to take on new skills, because unless I had the natural stuff done, the spiritual side or that stuff that was in my brain was not going to come to pass. It was just going to be wishful thinking. So I began to say positive things towards that. I began to learn new skills, begin to grow, develop. And the next thing you know, here I am sitting in my very own business, doing extremely well. But again, that was not the end goal. I can't say what the goals were, but every step that I took got me closer and closer and closer and closer to my goal. And so eventually, some other things happen, good and bad. And I had some setbacks along the way. And so I had to shut the old company down and start a new one because I can't get into what happened. And I took $238. That's all we had. I put it in a bank here in Hawaii called Central Pacific Bank, and I started my own company again. And back then it was really hard. And so I had to set goals again for myself. And I had to sit down and say positive affirmations, which began to program my brain again to learn and take on different skills. And so when I got into the college funding practice, I wanted to be super successful at that. And so I have a sheet of affirmations that's about, or confessions that are about 2 pages long. And one of the things I said was my college funding services are extremely valuable and my business is very successful. And I just began to say that over and over again, sometimes 6, 7, 8, 9 times a day. What that began to do was it helped me to reprogram my mind and to generate ideas that would help my college funding services become extremely valuable and to help my business become extremely successful. And I was very afraid of public speaking. So I had to begin to say things like, I am a great public speaker and things of that nature. And I always said things like, I have an attitude of a winner and not a loser. I am a super producer. I always get results for my clients. I always get positive results for my clients. And so if you're out there and you're struggling to get traction and to make positive progress, I'm going to share with you the best thing to do is to sit down, set some goals, and then begin to say positive affirmations towards your goals. And it's very, very important. And one of the ones I'll share with you guys, we were struggling tremendously, didn't have money to pay the bills. And this is the one I said every day, my needs are fully met. We have no debt and we have an abundance to put away and give from. So that's something that I'm constantly striving towards. The part about having no debt, that's an ultimate goal in the future. But the other things like having my needs fully met, making sure we have an abundance to give and to help others with, that's very important to me. And so I will continue to confess those things. And another one that I confess is I have the power to get wealth. That's something that's in the Bible. I have the power to get wealth. Therefore, I'm always stepping in the right direction to manifest wealth and prosperity in my life. And so all of the decisions I make, I'm hoping that these decisions and praying that these decisions and confessing that these decisions will help me achieve and accomplish my goals. And I say this is akin to using bricks to build something. So see your words as bricks. You can use positive words and build something positive, or you can use negative words and you can build something negative. You can use your words to build up. You can use your words to tear down. And so I just wanted to share with you to always be mindful of your words, because for every action, there is a consequence. For every positive word, there's a positive outcome. For every negative word, there is a negative outcome. And when I get into finances and I share with people of different things, and sometimes they'll say, I'll never be able to do that, or I can't see myself with that, and it's just a negative mindset. And it's not, how can I say this? It's not to condemn them in any type of way. But when you begin to say things like, I can't see myself with this, or I'll never be able to do this, our thoughts don't just stay isolated to ourselves. We begin to think that about other people. Why do they have that? Why do they have to show off their wealth, or why do they have that? And it's because you can't see yourself in that same light. And it's because of the words that you have been speaking. And so I want to encourage you to just take, like we do with our finances, we do our cash flow and our net worth. I want you to take inventory of the words that you speak when it comes to your relationships and your finances and even your health, over the next few days, and just kind of like have your spouse or someone say, hey, when I say something negative, check me. All right. I'm trying to get better with my words. I'm trying to build a better future for my life using my words. And again, we must use every possible tool at our disposal. I'm your financial partner and, financial advisor. But if I'm working my best and doing everything that I can to help you build your financial future, but you're tearing things down with your words, we're not making a very good team. So again, we are partners. And I just wanted to kind of share this with you guys today and come at it from a very different perspective. Nothing I say is meant to offend or alarm anyone or to hurt anyone. I just want to share with you guys some things that have happened to me in my life and to talk about some universal truths that are out there that we can all take advantage and to benefit from. And so if you're out there and you want to stop doing what you hate, I'll tell you straight up, you got to get in touch with me. Go to my Retire Now, Retire Wow website. Take a look at the Rapid Retire brochure, or just give me a call, 808-521-4401, to schedule a brief talk on the phone and see if there's anything I can do to help you to stop doing what you hate. Well, again, thank you very much for allowing me to speak something different into your life. And I hope it's going to be a game changer for you. I hope it's going to take you to the next level. And until next time, 1, 2, 3, let's get it.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.